Do you want to know what truly stops you from earning in a single month what would typically take an entire year to achieve? I can tell you right now, it's not the government, it's not the economy, and it's definitely not your boss. The real obstacle is you. Or rather, the self-image you hold, the person you believe yourself to be. It might sound absurd, I know. How could something as subjective as your self-perception dictate the size of your bank account? But that's precisely what determines whether you'll prosper or continue spinning your wheels. I want you to imagine for a moment that what's holding you back isn't a lack of time, nor a lack of opportunity, but something far more subtle, something that operates in silence day after day, shaping how much you believe you deserve. Most people work hard, strive, and dedicate themselves, yet they end each month right back where they started. They think the problem is their job, their salary, their country, the crisis, but the true blockade lies in how they perceive themselves. And that's the most dangerous part, because no one teaches us to look inward and understand the power our own reflection holds over our destiny. From an early age, society programs our minds with phrases like, "Money doesn't buy happiness," "You have to sweat to succeed," "That's not for people like us." These ideas become ingrained in our subconscious, beginning to dictate the limits of what we believe is possible. And the subconscious doesn't debate, it doesn't argue. It simply accepts what you repeat with emotion. So if you believe money is hard to come by, it will be. If you feel you'll never get out of a tight spot, the universe simply confirms it. Because the external world isn't the cause, it's the mirror. Everything you see outside is merely a faithful reflection of what you keep alive within yourself. That's why so many people live trapped in an invisible cycle. They work the entire month, receive their paycheck, pay the bills, and the money disappears. Month after month, it's the same story. Have you ever noticed how it feels like there's a ceiling you just can't break through, no matter how hard you try? That ceiling isn't in the market or the economy, it's in your own mental conditioning. It's like an internal financial thermostat. It regulates your life to maintain the comfort level you believe you deserve. If you earn more, but still see yourself as limited, your subconscious will find a way to bring you back to the old pattern. An unexpected expense, a debt, a mistake, any unforeseen event. And that's not bad luck. It's energetic coherence. The mind will always adjust reality to align with what you believe to be true. I know this because I lived that exact cycle. For years, I strived, but I didn't advance. I changed jobs, but the outcome was always the same. I worked harder, but it felt like money was slipping through my fingers. And one day I realized what I was trying to change were the symptoms, not the cause. The cause was in what I believed was possible for me. I saw myself as middle class, limited, without great talent. And that's exactly what I manifested every single day, unconsciously. Have you ever wondered why, when someone starts to prosper, sabotaging thoughts quickly emerge? Will this last? I think it's too good to be true. These thoughts are defenses of the old self, trying to protect what's familiar. The mind fears the new, even if the new means freedom. And as long as you don't see this, you'll keep repeating the same storyline. Effort without progress. You see, the universe doesn't respond to your words. It responds to your vibration. And that vibration originates from how you feel about yourself. If within you still lives the idea that it's difficult to prosper, that success is for others, the universe has no choice but to confirm that. That's why I say you can change your job, you can change your city, you can even change your relationship. But if you don't change what you carry within you, everything will repeat with new forms but the same essence. What defines your limit isn't how much you know, it's how much you believe you deserve. How many times have you had a good idea, a promising project, and didn't see it through? How many times have you started something excited, only to lose momentum later? That's not laziness. It's the subconscious pushing you back into the familiar zone. It's like an elastic cord. You move forward, but it's tethered to the past. And if you don't cut that tie, it pulls you back. The first step is to recognize the cycle. When you understand that what repeats in your life is merely a reflection of the self-image you hold, you begin to gain the power to change. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. You finally see what's holding you captive. And when you realize the problem was never money itself but your relationship with it, everything begins to shift. From that moment on, it's no longer about working harder or chasing things. It's about rebuilding yourself from within. It's about clearing the mirror through which you view the world. Because as long as your vision is distorted, your results will be too. It's simple, but it's not easy. Because it requires the courage to look inward, to confront beliefs you've carried for decades, often inherited from your family, school, and the people around you. But when you do that, when you decide to change how you see yourself, the cycle breaks, and what once seemed impossible begins to happen naturally. Opportunities that seemed invisible start to appear, the right people emerge, and what was once a struggle transforms into a flow. Because abundance has always been available, it was just waiting for you to feel worthy enough to receive it. So think, how many cycles have you been repeating? How many times have you returned to the same point, just with different characters? The answer isn't out there, it's within. Everything begins and ends with the image you hold of yourself. And until that changes, no result will truly change either. I remember vividly the smell of smoke mixed with the cold of the pre-dawn hours. I was with the Toronto Fire Department, tired, covered in soot, and with a nagging feeling eating away at me, that I was wasting my life. I had no perspective, no ambition, and to be honest, I believed that would be my destiny, to work hard, earn little, and just hope life would improve on its own. But nothing changes until we change. And back then, I had no idea how profoundly true that was. It was during that period that a man named Raymond Douglas Stanford handed me a book that would change everything. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. At that moment, I had no idea the impact those pages would have. I was just an ordinary firefighter with little education and a history of failures, but something about that title intrigued me. Think and Grow Rich. It seemed too simple, almost foolish. And yet, there was something there that drew me in. I began to read. Page after page, I started to understand something no one had ever taught me, that my external world was merely a reflection of my internal world. As I read, I began to realize how much I had condemned myself to live small. I told myself I didn't have enough education, that people like me weren't born to be wealthy, and, like an echo, life merely repeated what I believed. With every overdue bill, every lost opportunity, the universe seemed to answer me. That's right, Bob, you weren't meant for this. But what Hill taught me was that the universe wasn't punishing me, it was simply obeying. I'll never forget the night I finished the book. I closed the pages, sat on the edge of the bed and thought, what if the problem was never the world? What if the problem was always me? That question was like a key turning in my mind. The next morning, I made the decision that changed everything. I left the fire department. Not because I had another job waiting, nor because I had a detailed plan. I simply knew, with every cell of my body, that staying there would be the slow death of my dreams. It was then that I started my first business, a small cleaning company. I had no money, no experience, and if anyone had asked me what I was doing, I would have answered, I don't know either. But what I did have was something new, a new focus. I started acting as if success were inevitable. Every client I served, I saw as an opportunity to prove to myself that I could do more. And the most impressive thing is that the universe began to respond. By the end of the first year, to my own surprise, I had grossed over $100,000. $100,000. For a man who just months before could barely pay the bills, it seemed like a miracle. But I learned it wasn't a miracle. It was the consequence of an internal shift. I had stopped thinking like an employee and started thinking like a creator. And this change in perception opened doors that had always been there. I simply hadn't seen them. I realized that money, success, freedom, none of it is out there. It's all here, within the mind. The difference between failure and prosperity is simply the level of consciousness. And that consciousness only changes when you decide you're ready for something greater. When I finally understood this, I started seeing patterns in everything. People with incredible talents failing, while others with less apparent capability prospered. Why? Because some believed and others doubted. And belief always trumps logic. Back then I couldn't explain it in scientific terms, but today I know that the subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between reality and imagination. What you emotionally accept as truth, it transforms into results. And during that period, I refused to think small. I saw my company growing, saw clients recommending me, saw prosperity flowing. Even when circumstances suggested otherwise, I held firm to that vision. And gradually, the physical world began to align itself. From that moment on, everything changed. I started studying, learning about the mind, about energy, about universal laws, and I realized something that few people truly understand. Your life doesn't change when you work harder. It changes when you think differently. I didn't need luck. I needed a decision. Today, looking back, I realized that the moment I picked up that book was the turning point of my existence. It showed me that it wasn't the world limiting me, it was myself. And this is what I want you to understand. You could be just one decision away from the life you've always wanted. A decision to believe a little more in yourself, to change the way you see yourself, to act without guarantees but with faith. Because the world doesn't respond to what you wish for, it responds to what you decide to be. And when you shift your focus from survival to creation, when you decide that you are worthy of what you dream of, the universe conspires to confirm this new truth. That's exactly what happened to me, and that's exactly what can happen to you if you have the courage to take the same step. Money is a faithful mirror of what you believe you deserve. It has no morality, no will of its own. It's neither good nor bad. It simply obeys the vibration you emit about yourself. And the truth is, most people don't have a financial problem. They have an identity problem. That's why I say each of us possesses an invisible financial thermostat. Just as a thermostat regulates the temperature of a room, your mind regulates the level of prosperity you're capable of sustaining. Think about it. If the ambient temperature drops, the thermostat activates the heater to maintain balance. And if it rises too high, the system automatically works to cool the environment and bring it back to its set point. That's exactly how your subconscious operates with money. If you have an internal pattern of scarcity, no matter how much effort you make or how much money you earn, your subconscious will create situations, decisions, and behaviors to bring you back to the level it considers normal. That's why so many people win a prize, receive an inheritance, or close a profitable deal and, months later, find themselves in debt again. They may have changed their financial condition, but they didn't change their identity. They continued vibrating at the frequency of lack, and the universe merely restored coherence to what they believed to be true. It's not bad luck, it's consistency. The subconscious demands congruence between what you feel and what you experience. And if you don't feel worthy of abundance, it simply dissolves from your hands. You can observe this same phenomenon in other areas of life. Think of someone who follows a strict diet, loses weight, and then, a short time later, gains it back. This happens because the body has changed, but the mind remains stuck to the old image. The person sees themselves as overweight, and the subconscious will work incessantly to restore that self-image. With money, it's exactly the same. You might temporarily increase your income, but if your inner self is still programmed for scarcity, that new reality will be unsustainable. For many years, I myself experienced this fluctuation. I earned more, lost everything, earned again, lost again. Until I realized the problem wasn't the money, it was my thermostat. I saw myself as a man of humble origins, someone who should be content with little. And the universe, obedient, delivered exactly what I asked for, not with words but with vibration. Everything began to change the moment I understood that I didn't need to fix the exterior, but rather to reprogram the interior. This reprogramming doesn't happen overnight because it requires self-awareness and repetition. You need to observe how you react to money, what you feel when you receive it, what you feel when you spend it, what you feel when you see someone prosper. Most people react with fear, guilt, or envy, and these feelings reveal their internal configuration. Each time you feel you are not enough, the subconscious registers it as an order, and the result will always be proportional to the dominant belief. I remember a man who approached me after a lecture. He had received an unexpected bonus at work, something around $50,000, and in less than 6 months, he had maxed out his credit card and was in debt. He couldn't explain what had happened. I looked at him and said, "You didn't lose the money, you just returned to your equilibrium point." That shocked him, but weeks later, he understood. He had felt so uncomfortable possessing more than his friends and family that he unconsciously found a way to get rid of the excess. And that's what the subconscious does. It doesn't tolerate inconsistency with self-image. There's a fascinating study on this conducted by Yale University, where a group of people was analyzed during a period of sudden income increase. Researchers discovered that most of them unconsciously altered their spending habits to return to their previous financial level. Even with more money, they spent haphazardly or took unnecessary risks just to return to their mental comfort zone. Science calls this psychological homeostasis. I call it the mind's thermostat. But the good news is that this thermostat can be adjusted. When you start to change the image you have of yourself, your financial level begins to expand naturally. You stop sabotaging opportunities, stop feeling guilty for prospering, and start acting with the natural ease of someone who knows they deserve it. I experienced this when I started seeing myself as prosperous, not as someone trying to escape poverty. Money began to flow effortlessly. I no longer needed to chase it because it started to recognize me. Think about how you behave when you receive more than usual. Do you feel at peace, or do you immediately think, "This won't last"? The answer to that question reveals your current configuration. True financial freedom begins when your internal thermostat is adjusted to abundance, because the mind will not allow you to maintain anything that contradicts the image you have of yourself. The secret is to understand that money doesn't change who you are. It merely amplifies it. If you feel insecure, it amplifies insecurity. If you feel worthy, it amplifies the power of creation. Therefore, before wishing to earn more, you must become the kind of person who knows how to sustain abundance. Adjust your thermostat, elevate your self-image, and you will see the universe rearrange itself to confirm this new reality. Because money will always gravitate around the identity you choose to maintain. What transforms an idea into reality isn't desire, it's the feeling you put behind it. This is where most people go wrong. They think it's enough to repeat positive affirmations or visualize a beautiful scenario when, in fact, what creates change is the emotion that accompanies those images. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you feel to be true. And this is the point where imagination becomes the most powerful instrument of transformation that exists. When I started studying the power of the mind, I realized that the difference between those who dream and those who achieve isn't in talent, but in the emotional depth with which each person connects to their own dream. If you only think about prosperity, but feel fear and doubt, the dominant vibration is fear, and that's what the universe will return to you. But if you feel gratitude, confidence, and fullness, as if you were already living in prosperity, that emotion creates a frequency compatible with success. Modern science proves this. Studies on neuroplasticity conducted at Harvard show that the brain doesn't distinguish a real experience from an experience intensely lived in imagination. When you visualize with emotion, the brain activates the same neural networks as when you are actually living that experience. In other words, for the mind, it's real. I started using this in my own life. Every morning before leaving for work, I would sit in silence, close my eyes, and imagine what my perfect day would be like. I saw myself entering sophisticated places, conversing with influential people, conducting lucrative business, and at first it seemed like a game. The contrast between the reality I lived and the one I imagined was enormous. But I did it anyway. I emotionally engaged with each scene, felt the joy, the confidence, the freedom. Over time, something began to change. I noticed that my posture was different. My voice sounded with more conviction, and people responded to me differently. I had changed internally, and the world was simply catching up. Think for a moment. How many times have you imagined yourself failing even before you began? How many times have you visualized the worst-case scenario, felt fear, anxiety, and then seen it happen almost exactly as you imagined? This is no coincidence. It's the same mechanism at work, just in service of the negative. The difference is that now you can use this ability consciously to create what you desire. When you connect emotionally with success, your body and your energy begin to align with it. You speak differently, act differently, and the universe recognizes this new vibration. It's not a mechanical exercise, it's a living experience. You need to immerse yourself. It's not enough to see the mental image. You need to feel it. Feel the smell of the place, the sound of people around you, the weight of satisfaction in your chest. This is what communicates to the subconscious that the new reality is true. And the subconscious, which doesn't distinguish between the real and the imagined, starts working to manifest it. It attracts circumstances, ideas, people, and opportunities that vibrate at the same frequency. I always say that imagination is the rehearsal for reality. Everything you experience first originates within you. Your home, your car, your business, your travels, your relationships. Everything begins as an image imbued with emotion. This is why I've never overlooked the power of visualization. At a certain point in my life, I began to envision myself traveling the world, teaching about prosperity and helping individuals expand their lives. At the time, I was still far from achieving this, but the feeling was so genuine that for me, it was already real. And over time, the physical world simply aligned with that vibration. Invitations began to arrive spontaneously. People from countries I had never visited translated my content, and the impossible became natural. When you grasp this, you realize you don't need to wait for the perfect scenario to feel prosperous. On the contrary, you need to feel prosperous to create the perfect scenario. It's a powerful inversion. The world responds to the vibration you emanate, not to the words you speak. And this vibration is defined by the dominant emotion you cultivate. Therefore, every single day, even if everything seems the same, it's crucial to connect with the sensation of abundance. Feel gratitude for what you already possess and enthusiasm for what is on its way. Emotion is the fuel of creation. Thought is the map, but feeling is the engine. It's what propels the invisible into your reality. When you imagine something and feel as if it's already real, your subconscious mind begins to accept it as fact and starts to arrange the necessary circumstances for it to materialize. From that point onward, it's no longer a question of if it will happen, but when. And the deeper your emotional connection, the faster the result manifests. The true magic lies in realizing that imagination is not an escape from reality. It is the tool through which you construct it. Everything that exists today in the material world first existed as an image and emotion in someone's mind. Therefore, your capacity to feel is your most valuable power, because it is through feeling that you communicate to the universe what is real for you. And the universe, without debate, simply responds, "So be it." There is a profound difference between wishing for life to change and deciding that it will change. Desire is emotionally unstable. It depends on circumstances, conditions, and mood. Decision is definitive. It requires no permission. When I understood this, I realized that transformation begins the moment you choose with conviction to alter the frequency at which you are vibrating. And for this change to happen concretely, it is necessary to create a new mental habit. That's why I always propose a challenge of 30 days. 30 days might seem brief, but if used with intensity and presence, they are sufficient to alter the emotional structure that underpins your reality. During this period, every single morning before anything else, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and repeat with emotion, "I am so happy and grateful now because money comes to me in increasing amounts from multiple sources, continuously." These words are not a spell, they are a program. And like all programming, the secret lies not in repeating them mechanically, but in associating them with a vibrant emotion. Emotion is the code that the subconscious understands. You need to feel the truth behind the words. You need to mentally see the money arriving, resources flowing, opportunities emerging, as if everything is already happening. Initially, your rational mind will resist. It will tell you it's foolish, that nothing is changing. But that's precisely where the process begins to work, because the subconscious does not distinguish between what is real and what is intensely imagined. When you repeat something with emotion and consistency, your brain creates new neural connections. And these connections begin to dictate new behaviors, new perceptions, and, consequently, new results. It's science. Studies from Stanford University demonstrate that the human brain is plastic. It remodels itself according to what you repeat with emotional intensity. And when you repeat gratitude, prosperity, and abundance, you are literally shaping a new you. I performed this exercise when I was still living in scarcity. I had no money saved, bills surrounded me, but every morning I would sit down and do the exercise. Sometimes my voice would tremble because it felt like a lie. I would say, "I am so happy and grateful now." And deep inside, one part of me wanted to laugh or cry, but I persisted. I closed my eyes and saw the life I desired. I felt the relief of paying for everything with ease, the joy of helping other people, the comfort of living in financial peace. I saw every detail, and little by little I began to feel that it wasn't a dream. It was a destiny. After a few weeks, things began to shift. Small opportunities started to emerge, a new client, an unexpected invitation, a business that once seemed impossible began to unfold naturally. And I understood it was no coincidence. The exercise was realigning my vibration. I had stopped being someone who pursued money and had become someone who allowed it to arrive. Because when you vibrate in scarcity, the universe understands that you need to keep searching. But when you vibrate in abundance, it understands that you already possess it, and the flow manifests. The secret is consistency. Do the exercise every single day without fail. Repetition creates familiarity, and the subconscious only accepts as truth that which is familiar to it. That's why you need to persist until the new belief becomes second nature. Initially, it will feel like effort, then it will turn into pleasure. And suddenly you will notice that you wake up differently, that fear begins to dissipate, that a sense of tranquility starts to replace anxiety. This is the sign that the new pattern is being installed. During these 30 days, also observe how you speak about money. Most people complain without realizing it. They say, "Everything is too expensive. My salary is never enough. I can't deal with these bills anymore." Each of these phrases reinforces the scarcity pattern. Replace them with affirmations of abundance. Say, "Money is flowing. I always find opportunities. I attract prosperity in unexpected ways." This isn't self-deception, it's mental re-education. It's teaching your brain a new way to perceive reality. I know many people doubt. They think words change nothing, but that's because they have never sustained an affirmation with emotion for long enough to witness the result. When you declare something with conviction, the universe moves to confirm it. And when you do this for 30 consecutive days, the vibration of your entire life elevates. You begin to notice coincidences, encounters, situations that seem too aligned to be mere chance. It's not magic, it's synchronicity. Consider this. If for years you have nourished thoughts of fear, debt, and limitation, it's natural that your subconscious has molded itself to that frequency. So now, you are going to do the opposite. You will feed it prosperity, confidence, and gratitude until this becomes your new nature. And once the vibration shifts, the external world inevitably follows. Do not underestimate the power of 30 days. 30 days are enough to change a mental pattern. 30 days of focus are enough to initiate a new life. Do the exercise every day, even if you doubt, even if it seems silly, even if the scenario hasn't changed yet, because it will change. Initially, subtly, then intensely. The important thing is that you maintain faith and feeling. Life responds precisely to the vibration you sustain. If you start your day vibrating gratitude and prosperity, the universe will mirror that back to you. And when you least expect it, you will realize that those 30 days became the beginning of a new phase. One in which money flows naturally, opportunities arise with synchronicity, and abundance ceases to be a distant dream to become your natural state of being. By this point, many people are already starting to feel something different within themselves, a gentle awakening, an intuition that what I am saying makes sense, that perhaps life really can change from the inside out. And it is precisely at this juncture that most hesitate. Because when the mind starts to perceive that something is changing, the old self tries to resist. It whispers, Is this real? Is it worth continuing? Will it work for me? It's natural. Transformation always begins with discomfort. It's a sign that the old identity is being challenged. But the truth is that nothing solidifies until you decide to remain steadfast, even when you don't yet see results. Therefore, if you've made it this far, I want you to do something simple yet powerful. Take a deep breath, look within yourself, and realize how much this content resonates with your story. And if you are feeling that this message touches something profound within you, if at any point during this video you thought, this is exactly what I needed to hear, then pause for an instant and actively become a part of this. Subscribe now and click like. Not just for me, but for yourself. Because this gesture represents a decision, and decisions hold power. It's like telling the universe, I am ready for the next level. It is a symbolic act, yes, but every symbol carries energy. And the simple act of declaring your commitment to your own growth opens up space for the new. I learned this in the most intense way possible. When I began to study and apply these principles, there were moments when I doubted. Sometimes I felt alone. It seemed no one around me understood what I was trying to do. While I spoke about vibration, mindset, and energy, the people around me talked about bills, problems, and the economy. And I understood that if I truly wanted to change my life, I needed to connect with those who resonated on the same frequency. So I committed myself. I read, I wrote, I repeated, and most importantly, I acted. With every conscious decision, no matter how small, I reaffirmed my new self. And the more I did this, the more the universe responded to me. When you truly commit, something shifts in your energy. It's as if the world around you starts to recognize your intention. Opportunities begin to move in your direction, and what once seemed distant starts to naturally draw closer. This happens because every physical action is a reflection of a spiritual decision. By clicking like, by subscribing, you are saying, I choose to continue on this path, I choose growth, I choose abundance. And that is the beginning of everything. The transformation you seek doesn't happen in a single leap. It unfolds through a sequence of small conscious acts, and this could be the first of them. When you allow yourself to engage, interact, and connect with ideas that elevate your frequency, your subconscious begins to understand that this is the new reality, and gradually, it manifests externally. That's why I always emphasize every decision, no matter how small it seems, carries an immense vibrational energy. At this point, you need to choose between merely listening or starting to act, because knowledge without action turns into frustration. Have you noticed how many people accumulate information about personal growth, read books, watch videos, but remain stuck in the same place? It's because they confuse knowing with doing. Knowing is intellectual, doing is vibrational. It's the moment you act that energy begins to move, and that's what I want to happen now. That you feel this vibration, that you feel the inner urge to continue this process, because from here, the content begins to delve even deeper. The next ideas are not just concepts. They are keys capable of unlocking the potential dormant within you. And that's why it's so important for you to continue. You've already taken powerful steps, recognized patterns, understood the power of the subconscious, perceived the influence of self-image, and even learned to reprogram your mind through emotion. Now it's time to consolidate that. This is the moment to say yes to a new cycle. Click like, subscribe, and allow yourself to continue this journey. Not because it's an internet ritual, but because it symbolizes your yes to transformation. It's your first public act of commitment to a more abundant life, and the universe responds to clarity. Every time you choose to align with something positive, you are sending a vibrational message to life. And the universe, without fail, returns that vibration in the form of opportunities, encounters, signs, and prosperity. So, if you're feeling the call, act now. That's how change begins. With a simple decision, but one made with truth. Because everything that is real is first born in intention. And when your intention is clear, the entire world reorganizes to make it possible. Every time you decide to change, something within you starts to stir. It's as if an old part of you, accustomed to surviving in the same conditions, feels threatened. It tries to protect you, but does so in the worst possible way, by awakening fear, doubt, and insecurity. This is the invisible battle between the old self and the new self, and almost no one talks about it. People think that when they start doing something different and fear appears, it's a sign to stop. But it's quite the opposite. Fear is proof that you are crossing the boundary of your old identity. The old self will try to convince you it's better to retreat. It will tell you it's dangerous, that you're not ready, that you'll expose yourself, that you'll get frustrated. And if you're not conscious, you'll believe these voices. You'll think it's your instinct trying to protect you, when in reality it's just your conditioning trying to survive. Because the ego, that mental construct based on past experiences, fears the unknown. It doesn't know what exists beyond what is already familiar. Even if the familiar is uncomfortable, it prefers known suffering to uncertain freedom. How many times have you started a project full of enthusiasm and after a few days felt your energy drop? How many times has an opportunity arisen and instead of feeling excited, you felt a tightness in your chest, a sensation of, maybe this isn't for me? That's the old self trying to maintain control. It's the mind's defense mechanism saying, be careful, this is new, this is different. But that's precisely where transformation happens, in the territory of the new. Most people interpret resistance as failure. They say, I tried to change, but something in me pulls me back. That something is your emotional pattern trying to maintain coherence with the old image. It's as if your subconscious says, we've always been this way, and being different is dangerous. Because of this, it creates distractions, delays, justifications, and even small crises to make you give up. You start to feel sleepy when you should be acting. You start to think you need to wait for the right moment. You start to convince yourself that now isn't the time, but the right moment doesn't arrive. It only appears after you decide to act, even with fear. I've been through this countless times. When I left my job with the fire department, I had no guarantees. I remember the voice of fear screaming inside me. What if it goes wrong? What if you regret it? What if it's a mistake? But there was a quieter, deeper voice that said, trust. And that was the voice I chose to listen to. It was difficult, because fear feels real. It manifests physically. Your heart races, your stomach clenches, your hands sweat. But fear isn't a warning of danger. It's just a sign that something new is coming. Science calls this cognitive dissonance, when the brain enters into conflict between what is familiar and what is desired. The body reacts as if it's at risk because, for it, change is synonymous with uncertainty. However, in reality, it's just a process of adaptation. If you resist, the old pattern wins. If you persist, the new pattern solidifies. It's like walking through a dark corridor towards a lit door. At first you see nothing, you stumble, you hesitate. But if you keep walking, the light begins to grow and fear loses its power. The difference between those who succeed and those who give up lies in this moment of tension. Most retreat because they believe discomfort is a sign of error. But those who understand the process know that discomfort is the price of evolution. It's the body freeing itself from emotional memories that bind it to the past. When you persist, even while trembling, even with a racing heart, you are literally reprogramming your mind. With each step, the subconscious registers that the new is safe and fear begins to dissolve. I remember a woman I once coached, full of potential, with a brilliant business idea. She started with full force, full of energy, but as soon as the first obstacle appeared, everything collapsed. She told me, Bob, I think this is a sign it's not for me. I looked into her eyes and replied, no, this is a sign that it is exactly for you. It's your old self trying to survive. She was silent for a moment, and then she understood. She returned to the project, faced the discomfort, and months later, her company was thriving. Fear still appeared, but it no longer called the shots. This is what you need to understand. Fear won't disappear before you act. It disappears because you act. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to continue despite it. And every time you act, your mind begins to understand that it's possible, that it's safe, that it's real. The old self gradually quiets down, and the new self begins to take command. So when doubts arise, when you feel like stopping, remember, It's not the universe testing you, it's you freeing yourself from what no longer serves you. Resistance is the last guardian before expansion. The old self screams because it knows it's about to lose control, and if you persist, it disappears. And what emerges in its place is the true version of who you are. Free, abundant, and in total alignment with the life you've always desired. I'll never forget the story of a woman who attended one of my seminars. She was a baker, and for years she struggled to maintain her small business. She made wonderful cakes, had genuine talent, but always found herself stuck at the same point. When she finally landed a golden opportunity, a contract with a major coffee chain, something unexpected happened. On the day of the meeting, she simply didn't show up. No unforeseen circumstances, no accident, she just didn't go. When we talked afterward, she was visibly embarrassed and told me, "I started thinking they would realize I wasn't good enough." That sentence echoed in my mind because I knew exactly what she felt, and maybe you do too. How many times has a chance appeared before you, and out of fear of not being capable, you sabotaged it yourself? How many times have you said no to an opportunity because you believed you weren't ready yet? This is one of the most subtle forms of self-sabotage, and one of the most destructive, because it doesn't manifest as an external enemy. It comes disguised as prudence, humility, a sense of reality. But deep down, it's the feeling of unworthiness acting in silence. And that is one of the greatest mental poisons that exist. It paralyzes, even without apparent pain. This woman told me that as she was getting ready for the meeting, she started to imagine people looking at her and thinking, she doesn't belong here. So she decided not to go, to avoid the shame of being discovered. What she didn't realize was that no one out there was judging her. It was only the reflection of the belief she nurtured within herself. The outside world is always a mirror of what you feel inside. And as long as you don't see yourself as worthy, the universe cannot prove you wrong. I've seen this happen with business owners, artists, brilliant professionals, and even highly successful individuals. They grow, they prosper, and when they reach a new level, they start to self-sabotage. They spend unnecessarily, make impulsive decisions, or simply freeze, because the subconscious screams, "This is too much for you." And then, almost imperceptibly, they begin to create circumstances that pull them back down to where they feel safe. This isn't a lack of capability, it's a lack of internal permission. What few understand is that the feeling of unworthiness doesn't stem from reality, but from childhood, from comparisons, criticisms, and the limitations we were taught to accept. From a young age, we hear phrases like, "It's not polite to want too much. Good things aren't for us. You should be content with what you have." And over the years, these ideas become mental programs that regulate how much we allow ourselves to receive. That's why even when the universe offers abundance, many people reject it. Sometimes subtly, by delaying a response to an opportunity, doubting a compliment, or refusing help. These are small attitudes that combined form an invisible barrier between you and success. The baker in my story didn't lose the contract due to a lack of competence. She lost it because deep down, she still saw herself as someone insignificant. And as long as she didn't change that self-perception, nothing external could sustain a new level of prosperity. This is what I call the law of coherence. The subconscious mind demands alignment between what you believe yourself to be and what you experience. When there's a conflict, reality always adjusts to the internal pattern, and it's curious to observe how this feeling disguises itself as a virtue. How many times have you heard someone say, "I don't want to show off," or "I prefer not to dream big so I won't get frustrated"? These are common phrases, but they hide fear and guilt. The fear of shining, the fear of being seen, the fear of not being accepted. But the truth is, true humility isn't about diminishing yourself. It's about recognizing the power that exists within you and using it to serve the world. When you deny your potential, you're not being modest. You're being ungrateful for the intelligence that created you. I remember a period in my life when I experienced exactly this. After achieving success in my first businesses, I started to feel a strange guilt. It was as if I didn't have the right to prosper when so many people around me were still struggling. And this guilt began to pull me down. For some time, my income dropped, My energy dwindled, until one day I realized I wasn't helping anyone by diminishing myself. On the contrary, I inspired far more people when I lived in abundance than when I lived in scarcity. Prosperity isn't selfishness, it's expansion. When you prosper, you pave the way for others to prosper too. The baker finally understood this. After some time, she worked on her beliefs, forgave herself for feeling small, and began to see herself as capable and deserving. Months later, she received a new invitation from another company, even larger. This time she went, and the contract was not only closed but completely transformed her business. She wrote to me afterward saying, "The contract was amazing, but what truly changed was how I see myself." And that was exactly what I wanted her to understand, because in the end, it's not success that makes you worthy. It's the feeling of worthiness that attracts success. As long as you believe you need to prove your worth, you will continue to attract situations that demand proof. But when you understand that you are already enough, the universe can finally deliver what has always been available to you. The world doesn't reward those who hide. It rewards those who allow themselves to be seen. And from the moment you believe you are worthy, everything changes. Your outlook changes, your demeanor changes, opportunities change. Life responds with precision to the self-image you hold. So if you recognized yourself in this story, if at some point you also felt afraid of being discovered as inadequate, remember, no one is judging you. They are only reflecting the view you have of yourself. And the good news is that this view can be completely recreated. All it takes is a new act of consciousness, a new decision, a new feeling. When you see yourself as worthy, the universe confirms it. When you see yourself as limited, the universe confirms that too. It is you who chooses which truth you want to live. There's an example that has always profoundly impacted me because it clearly illustrates the power and danger of self-image. It's the story of Mike Tyson, a man who, for a brief moment, embodied strength itself, discipline itself, and greatness itself, and yet lost everything. When young Mike was discovered by the legendary coach Cus D'Amato, he was just a lost boy, shaped by street violence and a childhood full of rejection and deprivation. Cus didn't just see a promising boxer, he saw a spirit that needed to be rebuilt, and that's what he did. Cus trained Tyson not only physically, but mentally and emotionally. He taught him to visualize victory, to see himself as a champion even before stepping into the ring. During that period, Tyson believed, he saw himself as invincible, focused, disciplined. The identity of a champion was carefully cultivated within him, and the result was inevitable. He became the youngest boxer in history to win the world heavyweight title. The whole world saw a champion, but more importantly, he saw himself as a champion. And as long as that vision remained firm, his reality reflected success, glory, and absolute dominance. But when Cus passed away, the internal foundation began to crumble. Without the mentor who sustained his new image, the old Mike, the wounded, insecure, unstable boy, resurfaced. From then on, his life unraveled like a sandcastle. Victories turned into defeats, discipline gave way to impulsiveness, and success quickly transformed into self-destruction. The man who was once the face of triumph became a symbol of excess and personal tragedies. The talent didn't disappear, the physical strength was still there, but the internal image that sustained everything had shattered. And without that image, everything else collapsed. This story made me understand something few people realize. It's not what you achieve that changes your life. It's what you believe yourself to be that sustains your achievements. You can gain money, status, power, but if deep down you still see yourself as limited, unworthy, or insignificant, the subconscious will work to restore equilibrium with that self-image. It's the law of mental coherence. The mind needs congruence between belief and experience, and when there's a conflict, it chooses to preserve the belief. Tyson didn't lose due to a lack of talent. He lost because his internal thermostat was still set to the identity of a boy filled with fear and anger. The new reality was too grand for his old self to sustain. He didn't know how to be the man the world said he was. And this is the point where so many people fail, not because they're incapable of achieving success, but because they don't feel prepared to live it. Success without an emotional foundation is like a building without a cornerstone. It impresses from the outside, but it collapses from within. I've seen this happen countless times. People who strived for years to prosper, and when they finally succeeded, unconsciously began to sabotage their own growth. Some lose everything through impulsive decisions, others fall ill, others simply lose interest, because deep inside something says, "This isn't who I am." And that's why I insist so much on rebuilding self-image. You cannot just change circumstances, you need to change who you are emotionally capable of sustaining them. The same pattern repeats at different levels. An employee gets promoted but continues to see himself as the subordinate he once was. An entrepreneur expands their business but still thinks like someone small. An artist starts to achieve success but fears judgment and feels like an imposter. And so, even surrounded by new opportunities, they continue to live out the same internal dramas. Because the mind won't accept a role that contradicts the script it has memorized. When Tyson lost his mentor, he lost more than just a coach. He lost the mirror that reflected his best self. And without that reflection, the old program started running again. The wounded boy regained control. The power that was once strength transformed into destruction. And that's exactly what happens when you achieve something without being emotionally prepared to receive it. The energy that elevated you begins to work against you. True success is sustained by identity, not by circumstances. And this holds true for anyone. You can attract a fortune, but you will only keep it if your subconscious believes you are worthy of it. You can experience extraordinary love, but you will only maintain it if you believe you deserve to be loved. You can build an empire, but you will only sustain it if you believe you are the type of person who lives in harmony with prosperity. Everything you manifest needs to have a corresponding emotional foundation within you. Otherwise, life finds a way to balance it out. Mike Tyson's story isn't just about a boxer. It's about all of us. Each of us carries within us an old self that resists expansion and tries to keep us trapped in our comfort zone, and a new self that yearns for the freedom to express our true potential. The battle between these two defines anyone's destiny. Tyson conquered the world, but lost the inner battle. And the price of ignoring the power of self-image is always the same: an inevitable return to the starting point. But there's a profound lesson here. The very power that destroyed him could have elevated him even further, had it been fueled by the right identity. Because talent without awareness is mere instinct, but talent with awareness is purpose. The secret is to do the inner work before, during, and after success, to strengthen the mind, elevate belief, and align feeling with vision. That way, when success arrives, it doesn't scare you, it recognizes you. And that's why I say, success doesn't transform you. It merely amplifies who you already are. If there's balance, confidence, and love within you, it will expand upon those. But if there's fear, insecurity, and guilt, it will multiply those emotions until you can no longer bear them. Therefore, true victory isn't what happens externally, it's what happens within. Because in the end, it's not the world that determines how much you grow. It's how much you believe you're capable of becoming the kind of person who lives up to what you desire. There's a concept that completely changes how you view your life: the energy of emotional frequency. Everything you desire already exists on a certain vibrational frequency, and you just need to align with it for the connection to happen. It's like a radio. All the stations are on the air, but you only hear the one you tune into. The problem is that most people try to attract prosperity while vibrating scarcity. Try to attract love while vibrating fear. Try to attract health while vibrating worry. And that's impossible. You can't receive something that isn't in harmony with what you feel. What determines the frequency you emit isn't what you say, but what you feel most deeply and constantly. Emotion is the language of the subconscious, and it's through emotion that you communicate with the universe. You can affirm every day, "I am rich," but if deep down you feel fear about not paying your bills, the predominant vibration will be fear, not wealth. It's like trying to listen to music on the wrong station. The sound never comes in clear. Therefore, the secret isn't just to repeat positive phrases, but to learn to feel the truth of them as if they were already real. I learned this painfully when I started my first cleaning business. I told myself I would prosper, that my company would be a success, but deep inside there was still an echo of doubt. I was afraid of failing, of being ridiculed, of proving people right when they said I wasn't good enough. And as long as that vibration persisted, everything seemed stuck. Clients were late, equipment broke down, and I felt like the universe was testing me. But the universe never tests, it merely reflects. I was vibrating uncertainty, and life was returning uncertain situations to me. That's when I started practicing something that completely changed the course of my story. Every morning before heading out to work, I would close my eyes and imagine the feeling of abundance as if it were already a reality. I saw myself with bills paid, clients satisfied, the business growing. But the most important thing wasn't the image, it was the emotion. I allowed myself to feel gratitude and security as if I already had it all. At first it felt strange, but over time, my body began to adapt to this new vibration. And like a magnet, things started to happen. Opportunities that seemed impossible emerged, and in 1 year I had already earned over $100,000. Science explains this process clearly. Neuroscience research shows that the brain doesn't distinguish between what is real and what is intensely imagined. When you feel an emotion deeply, your nervous system registers it as an authentic experience. And if this experience is repeated frequently, the subconscious begins to treat it as a new reference point. That's how you alter your vibration, not by trying to change the external world, but by changing your body's chemistry through emotion. Most people live trapped in a cycle of repetition because they constantly react to circumstances. They say, "When I have money, I'll feel confident. When I find someone, I'll feel loved. When my job improves, I'll feel happy." But it's the reverse. First you feel confident, and then the money comes. First you feel loved, and then the right people appear. First you feel happy, and then the work flourishes. The feeling is the cause, reality is the effect. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to attract good fortune all the time? They don't have more opportunities than others. They are simply more aligned with the frequency of what they desire. While some vibrate scarcity, they vibrate gratitude. And gratitude is one of the most powerful vibrations that exist because it communicates to the universe that you already possess what you desire. And the universe responds by multiplying what you acknowledge. But there's a detail almost no one mentions. You don't change your vibration in a hurry. Haste is fear in disguise. When you say, "I need this to happen soon," you are vibrating scarcity. You are declaring to the universe that you don't yet believe, and the universe only understands energy, not words. Therefore, when you feel anxiety, stop and breathe. Return to the present moment. Bring to mind the image of what you desire, and for a few seconds, feel as if it's already yours. Do this several times a day. At first, it will feel insignificant, but over time, this sensation will become natural. And what is natural is what the subconscious accepts as truth. I like to propose a small challenge. For the next 7 days, choose a simple goal and practice its corresponding vibration every day. If you want prosperity, feel at peace with money. If you want love, feel worthy and cherished. If you want health, feel strong and full of vitality. And observe what happens. Don't expect immediate results. Just maintain the vibration. The universe responds to consistency, not fleeting intensity. There was a period when I put this to the test myself. I was about to give a lecture to thousands of people, and fear began to creep in. I found myself thinking, what if I freeze? What if I forget everything? So I closed my eyes and started to feel the opposite emotion. I imagined myself confident, connected, inspiring those people. I allowed that feeling to grow until it dominated my entire body. When I stepped onto the stage, it was no longer fear in control. It was the vibration of confidence, and that was one of the most transformative lectures of my life. Everything you seek is already vibrating at some frequency. You don't need to force, rush, or beg. You just need to learn to tune in. Because the universe doesn't deliver what you want. It delivers what you are. And when you become emotionally compatible with what you desire, what once seemed distant begins to draw near naturally. Life adjusts to your vibration, and what once required effort now flows effortlessly. This is the true inner alchemy, transforming emotion into reality. And when you master this, 1 month is more than enough time to completely transform your life. Have you ever noticed that once the mind awakens, it's impossible to go back to being the same? Something within you changes forever. And from that point, every thought, every choice, and every emotion begins to carry a new consciousness. What once seemed impossible begins to feel natural. It's at this moment that transformation solidifies, not because the world changed, but because you changed. And if this content touched something within you, if at any point in this video you felt it spoke directly to your soul, then share it. Send it to someone special, someone who might need to hear exactly this right now. It could be a friend, a family member, someone you know has enormous potential, but doesn't yet believe enough in themselves. Sometimes a single message can ignite a flame that changes an entire life. I am deeply grateful for you being here, for dedicating your time, your attention, and your energy to something that elevates your vibration and contributes to your growth. Keep applying what you've learned, keep observing the subtle changes that begin to unfold. Because with each passing day, with every thought and every aligned emotion, you are creating a new reality. Thank you for allowing me to be part of this journey with you. And remember, the next step is always the most important. So, I'll see you in the next video because the expansion doesn't end here. It's just beginning.